Learning outcomes. After studying this module, you shall be able to first learn what is corporate entrepreneurship. Second, understand the need for corporate entrepreneurship. Differentiate various types of corporate entrepreneurship. Identify the leadership characteristics of corporate entrepreneurs. Learn how to develop an entrepreneurship training program and learn how to cope up with failures. Now we come to the introduction. Identifying new business opportunities and new products has become very critical for the survival of organizations today. This requires innovation and creativity by these organizations. As a result, we see the emergence of corporate entrepreneurship, which refers to the process in an organization whose objective is to identify new opportunities beyond the core business of the company or generating new business for the company. In the 60s and 70s, corporate entrepreneurship was researched under the name venture management. Currently, it is referred to as corporate entrepreneurship or intrapreneurship. As per the model set forth by Guth and Ginsberg in 1990, there is a close relationship between corporate entrepreneurship and business strategy. This is due to the fact that the decision for developing new products and introducing new ventures in a company is critical and strategic decision. Now let's try to define corporate entrepreneurship. Corporate entrepreneurship is gradually emerging as a distinct field of practice and academics. According to Cowen and Slane in 1991, the three entrepreneurial characteristics of risk-taking, innovativeness and proactiveness specified by Miller in 1983 can be applied to not just new independent firms but to corporates as well. Collins and Moore in 1970 differentiate between independent and administrative entrepreneurs. According to them, independent entrepreneurs set forth a new venture from scratch, whereas administrative entrepreneur creates a new organization within or adjunct to an existing business. Lumpkin and Dess in 1996 have also stated that a new venture can be started by startup firm or an existing firm. As a result, entrepreneurship is now referred to as independent entrepreneurship to refer to the entrepreneurship activities performed by individuals outside of any organization. Similarly, corporate entrepreneurship is also called by different names like corporate entrepreneurship, corporate venturing, intrapreneuring, internal corporate entrepreneurship, internal entrepreneurship, strategic renewal and venturing. Many definitions have been propounded by various authors such as Bergelman, Chung and Gibbons, Colvin and Slane, Vesper, Zahara, etc. But the most widely accepted definition that is given by Guth and Ginsberg in 1990. According to them, corporate entrepreneurship refers to the birth of new businesses within existing business and the transformation or rebirth of the ideas. Now let's see what is the need for corporate entrepreneurship. Innovation and entrepreneurship are catching the fancy of everyone in the business world. Many companies are moving towards corporate entrepreneurship in order to revive the firm or to meet competition. According to various authors such as Bennett, Curlato, Miles and Cowen, this is the result of various developments. For example, entry of new and sophisticated competitor, desire to improve efficiency. Setting up of small business entrepreneurship by people leaving the corporate sector. International competition, distrust in traditional methods of managing business, downsizing of some companies, growth of venture capital industry. As a result, today companies are being forced to look inwards to bring out innovation and efficiencies in their operations by setting up new ventures. Now let's see the various classifications of corporate entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship can be classified into different types depending upon the different forms that it takes within an organization. According to various authors, entrepreneurship can take three forms. First, strategic renewal. Second, innovation. And third, corporate venturing. These forms have been outlined in the figure. Under entrepreneurship, we have independent entrepreneurship and corporate entrepreneurship. Now looking at corporate entrepreneurship, we have corporate venturing, we have innovation, we have strategic renewal. And bifurcating corporate venturing further, there is internal corporate venturing and external corporate venturing. First, strategic renewal. Strategic renewal refers to the transformation of existing organizations through a renewal of ideas on which they were built. It means a renewal of the firm due to major structural or strategic changes. These changes stay within the firm and are not a new business that is created by the firm. They lead to a change in the relationships within the firm or between the firm and its external environment. In some cases, it also involves innovation. Now let's talk about innovation. Innovation refers to introducing something new in the firm. It tends to change the organization and its competitive environment. It usually occurs along the strategic renewal or corporate venturing. Now let's talk about corporate venturing. Corporate venturing means those entrepreneurial activities that result in the creation of a new business organization within an existing company. They may lead to or may even result in innovations to offer a new product or to reach a new market. Corporate venturing may be of two types: external corporate venturing and internal corporate venturing. Now, external corporate venturing are those activities that lead to the creation of a new organization outside an existing organization. The examples are joint ventures, spin-offs, venture capitalist initiatives, etc. Internal corporate venturing are those activities that can lead to the creation of new organizations within the existing organization. It is considered as a new business. Internal corporate ventures can be created in different ways and they may have different levels of strategic importance within the firm. Thus, they can differ from each other on four dimensions. These four dimensions are structural autonomy, degree of relatedness, extent of innovation, and nature of sponsorship. Let's talk about structural autonomy first. This refers to whether the new venture is made a part of existing division or is it a new division in the business separated from the rest of the firm and reporting directly to the top management. Which of the two approaches is used will depend on the need for management attention, learning opportunities, protection from any hostility from the firm and the resources required. Degree of relatedness. The new venture may also be differentiated based on the degree of relatedness with the existing business. This relatedness could be regarded core competencies, resources required, product offerings or market, etc. It can thus be closely related or completely unrelated. This will also lead to a difference in the challenges faced and the learning required for managing new ventures. Thus, it means the degree of newness in the venture to the firm. The third point is extent of innovation. This refers to amount of newness of the venture to the marketplace. They may range from imitative ventures to path-breaking ventures. The challenges faced for imitative ventures will be far less than the challenges faced for completely new ventures. The fourth point is nature of sponsorship. This dimension refers to the amount of formal authorization provided to the new venture. There could be two different types of ventures according to Zahra. First, formal or induced, that is, sponsorship provided by the firm, and second, informal or autonomous, which is no formal sponsorship by the firm, entrepreneurship efforts by an individual only. Similarly, Day in 1994 has also spoken about top-down, bottom-up and the dual role champions within the internal ventures. For informal and autonomous efforts, the organization champion or the sponsor becomes more critical, whereas in the case of formal efforts, it may not be so important. Encouraging corporate entrepreneurship. In order to venture into corporate entrepreneurship, management needs to establish a culture of entrepreneurship in the organization. Various characteristics need to be present in an organization to establish an environment of entrepreneurship. First, the firm must encourage new ideas and research. An important source of product ideas is the research and development. The firm must therefore support new ideas and not discourage them. The firm must also invest in research in the latest fields that might be applicable to it. This is a major feature of firms that earn a high sales volume and a rapid return on investment. Second, allowing trial and error. The organization that wants to encourage or engage in corporate entrepreneurship must also encourage trial and error. New products appear only after a certain degree of experimentation. For example, the first computer that appeared in the market was a result of various failures. The firm needs to establish an environment where failures or mistakes are not discouraged in the process of developing an innovative product. This is the opposite of the career and promotion system in traditional firms. However, it is rare that a new venture is established without any failure. Such failures are only a learning opportunity for the firm. Third, removing organizational obstacles. It should also be ensured that there are no organizational obstacles hindering the development of a new venture. Sometimes, in an organization, potential entrepreneurs get discouraged because of organizational structure issues, or there could be problems in the reporting requirements. For example, in one Fortune 500 company, one entrepreneur was discouraged because the new venture was failing under the domain of another department. Fourth, availability of resources. All the required resources that are required by the entrepreneur need to be made available and accessible. The resources could be in the form of money or people. the required funds need to be made available for not just those issues that impact the immediate profits, but also for the new and innovative ventures that might be risky. For example, companies like AT&T, 3M and Xerox have established separate venture capitalist agencies with the fund for the funding of the new ventures. 5. Multidisciplinary team approach. This approach is also different from the approach used in traditional organizations. The team working on new venture needs to be formed from people coming from different disciplines. One thing to be kept in mind is that the career and promotion of a team member depends on his performance in the current position and not on his performance in the new venture. 6th, long-term approach. The company must also look at a longer time frame for evaluating the performance of the new venture. The firm should also consider a time frame of at least 5 to 10 years to gauge the performance of the venture. Venture capitalists too look at similar time frame when investing in a new entrepreneurial venture. 7th, volunteer efforts. The organization must be very careful in ensuring that only those people are involved in the new ventures who are willing to do so. Entrepreneurship is a specialized skill and everyone in the organization cannot be expected to participate in the entrepreneurial efforts of the company. There are some people who are good at the corporate jobs and some who are good at entrepreneurial jobs. Forcing the former to perform the entrepreneurial activities will only harm the new venture. 8th, appropriate reward system. A good reward system goes a long way in motivating the people who have volunteered to take the risk of carrying forward the new venture. Rewards must also be put in place for those who are putting the efforts and time required for setting up and running a new venture. These rewards should be based on some measure of performance of those involved. Equity participation in the new venture that they were working for is a good idea to reward such employees. 9th, top management support. Finally, no venture can succeed if it does not have the support of the top management. This can be in the form of physical presence and making the required funds available for the entrepreneur. Further, to create an environment favorable to corporate entrepreneurship, the company should have sponsors or champions to support the venture and to make any modification in the objectives of the new venture as may be required from time to time. Leadership characteristics of corporate entrepreneurs. In order to build an environment of innovation and corporate entrepreneurship must possess certain leadership traits. These are: first, understanding the environment. No business or venture can survive unless it adapts to the environment around it. A successful corporate entrepreneur must understand the environmental variables and the impact that they have on the venture. Second, flexibility and vision. A corporate entrepreneur must also possess a certain vision for the future. He should be a visionary who can dream big and have the ability to sell the dream to others. He should also be flexible enough to be able to open to new ideas and be willing to accept change. Next, inspiring teamwork. No leader can be complete if he is unable to encourage others to work as a team. He should be able to motivate them to work with one another using a multidisciplinary approach. For this, he should have the ability to move beyond the departmental borders and reporting systems and to go against the traditional organizational structure. Next, encouraging open discussion. To build a successful venture, open discussion and critical analysis of issues needs to be encouraged. The team members should be free to discuss matters in an open and frank manner in order to come to the best solution for the problem. Building supporters. Once openness is built, it will lead to a group of people who support the venture. The entrepreneur himself also needs to support each member, especially during difficult times. This is important because the usual motivators of job security and career path are not present in a new venture. Last but not the least is persistence. A corporate entrepreneur needs to have a lot of patience and persistence to be able to move forward even in the event of failures or disappointments. Establishing a new venture, the team may encounter obstacles and frustrations. In order to overcome these, he should have the persistence to create the new venture. Now we will talk about developing an entrepreneurship training program. Initiating a corporate entrepreneurship venture requires creating an environment of entrepreneurship in the organization. In order to do so, the company can introduce a training program to facilitate a culture of entrepreneurship. Kuratako and Hornsby have created a training program to facilitate a corporate entrepreneurship environment. It is called the Corporate Innovation Training Program, which consists of 6 modules. These are: first, the entrepreneurial experience. This is an overview of the entrepreneurship in which the participants are introduced to the entrepreneurial revolution that is taking place in the last 3 decades. They are encouraged to think innovatively and to break out of the traditional model of operating in an organization. Second, innovative thinking. This module introduces the participants to think innovatively. The misconceptions about innovative thinking are discussed and some common hindrances to innovative thinking are presented. The participants complete an innovation inventory and are made to do some exercises to encourage their innovative thinking. Third, idea acceleration process. In this module, the participants generate some ideas on which they would like to work. They also specify the resources required to achieve their objectives. The module also requires them to think of various aspects of the organization, such as structural barriers and facilitators. Fourth, barriers and facilitators to innovative thinking. Various barriers to innovation are reviewed by managers. They also complete exercises that will help them to tackle these barriers. Apart from these, the various videos are shown about real corporate innovators who have been successful in managing various barriers. Fifth, sustaining innovation teams or the I-teams. This module deals with the idea of forming I-teams to handle specific innovations. Based on the ideas formed during the training, various teams are developed. Once the teams have been formed, team dynamics are reviewed for each group. Sixth, the innovation action plan. Once the barriers and facilitators to innovation have been identified, the teams are asked to prepare an action plan. This includes setting the objectives, creating an I team, analyzing existing conditions, designing the timetable for completing the project, and project evaluation. Now we come to the last topic of our discussion, coping with failure. Failure is common in establishing a new venture. New ventures are inherently risky and have an element of uncertainty. As a result, they might have to be terminated without achieving their objectives, leading to grief for all those who have been involved. The organization can have a major role to play in recovering from the grief arising out of the failure. If there is a social support system provided by the organization, there will be learning arising out of the failure instead of just grief. By learning the reasons for the failure of the venture, the entrepreneur can avoid such mistakes in the future. Those entrepreneurs who can more quickly learn from failure will be more easily motivated to try a new venture again. For this, the individual can use a dual process of coping with the failure, which involves two processes. These are, first, loss orientation. This involves analyzing the failure to understand the possible reason for the failure. The person might also seek the help of friends or relatives to talk to them about the failure and to give a vent to his feelings of grief. An understanding of the reasons of failure will lead to a breakage of the feelings of loss associated with the failure. However, if a person focuses on the failure for too long, it can increase the feelings of grief. In order to tackle this, he can then move to the second process, the restoration orientation. The restoration orientation refers to avoiding thinking about the failure. Instead, the person should think about the other problems that may have come up as a result of the failure. The avoidance reduces the short-term feelings of grief, and thinking about other problem tends to reduce the intensity of the feeling of failure. However, if the person does not pay attention to the events related to the failure, there is little opportunity to learn. Therefore, the person needs to oscillate or move alternatively towards both the approaches. Thus, he can benefit from both of these approaches while minimizing the negative impact of both by relying on each for long period of time. Now let's come to the summary of the whole topic. First, corporate entrepreneurship is gradually emerging as a distinct field of practice and academics. A new venture can be started by a startup firm or by an existing firm. Corporate entrepreneurship refers to the birth of new businesses within existing businesses. Entrepreneurship can be classified into different types depending upon different forms that it takes within an organization. Corporate entrepreneurship can take majorly three forms: strategic renewal, innovation, and corporate venturing. Management can establish a culture of entrepreneurship in the organization by encouraging new ideas and research, removing organizational obstacles, making the requisite resources available, a multidisciplinary team approach, and top management support, among others. The leader who wants to establish a culture of corporate entrepreneurship should possess certain characteristics such as understanding the environment, encouraging open discussion, building supporters, and persistence. An effective training program for managers can be developed in the organization to foster innovative thinking. During the training, the participants are encouraged to think innovatively, and some common hindrances to innovative thinking are presented. Once the barriers and facilitators to innovation have been identified, the teams are asked to prepare an action plan. Lastly, it is important to learn to handle failures since new ventures are inherently risky. The people concerned need to understand the possible reasons for this failure. They can also seek the help of friends or relatives to talk about the failure and to give a vent to his feelings of grief. It is also important to think about other problems that may have come up as a result of the failure.